I just want to speak on three Jewish ideas that we gave a particular emphasis to in the world and that we can be proud of. One of them is that we speak of justice with such passion. As it says in the Torah, one of our commandments is, tzedek, tzedek tirdof, justice, justice you shall pursue. In other words, most problems when they arise, if the problem arises, you have to deal with it. Here you're supposed to pursue it. I want to even speak for a moment in relation to that, to the war going on now between Israel and Gaza. Israel, not surprisingly, is getting a terrible press. But Israel is blamed for everything, in any case, by most nations in the world, so it doesn't matter. But we as Jews, I think, can be proud of the fact that the Israeli army is doing what it can to minimize civilian casualties. Israel is blamed for civilian casualties, even though Hamas purposely attacks from civilian areas, knowing that Israel is then put in a no-win situation. If it doesn't fight back out of fear that it could hurt civilians, then obviously Israelis will die and Israelis will suffer. If it does kill civilians, the one group that you can be sure is happy about it is Hamas, because the more civilians who die, the more hatred there will be against Israel. And yet Israel is doing what it can to try and minimize civilian deaths, even as it has an obligation to protect its own civilians. That's a very, very important issue. Is Israel going to get credit for that in the world? No. But should we as Jews be proud about it, and should Israel continue to do it? The answer is yes. Another value we Jews brought into the world, and made a very significant value in the world, is the pursuit of knowledge for its own sake. Einstein, in fact, about 60 years ago, said that one of the reasons he's proud to be a Jew is because of that notion of pursuing wisdom for its own sake. In Jewish terms, it's called Torah Lishma, studying Torah for its own value. That's a very, very important value, because that's how we come to understand more about God's world. But that value can be perverted, because the very minds that have been developed to a high level of sophistication can then misuse those minds. I often like to contrast the fact that in Hebrew, there is no appellation more glorified than to call somebody a chacham, a wise person. But in Yiddish, the word chacham has the connotation of a trickster. So we're supposed to study and to try and implement God's will in this world. When Jews use that study and their ability to study and their intelligence to engage in trickery or other things, they're really perverting the ends of the Jewish people. So here's a value of which we can be very proud, but when misused, it has the effect, understandably, and should, of making us feel very, very ashamed. And of course, the most famous law, smack in the middle of the Torah, love your neighbor as yourself, which provides us with a standard of how to treat others. The Jews came out of Egyptian slavery. They were forged in the crucible of having emerged from Egyptian slavery. And what are they told repeatedly? Treat the stranger well, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. Usually when people have been hurt, they use the hurt that's been inflicted on them as a justification for hurts that they inflict on others. Here we're supposed to take the pain that was inflicted on us and use that as a goad to be better people, and to learn how to love others and to treat others with the fairness we want extended to ourselves. Those three ideas: the passion for justice, justice, justice you shall pursue; the passion for knowledge, Torah Lishma, studying for its own sake to understand God's will and not to misuse it, to be a chacham, to be a wise person, but not to be a chacham, not to be a trickster, and to love one's neighbor as oneself, which means to also see that even those who have suffered, even those who are downtrodden, those too are our neighbors, and we have ethical obligations to them.